Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Maria Flynn here. I'm the principal of the Design Academy, and I'm just going to be holding this webinar this evening. Can I just have a quick check that you can all hear me? I asked this at the beginning, and last week it was a very good job because I didn't have my microphone turned on. So can you just send me a message that, yes, you can hear me okay? And I will just, okay, thank you. Okay, and while we're here, we're just warming up. We just have 1 or 2 minutes before we get started. Where is everybody from this evening? I think most of you are based in the US and Canada. We're doing it at this time so that it's best for you. But we have a lot of people from literally all over the place. So put in your country where you're from, and it will be interesting for us to share. Okay. I have Bindu from Australia. Very, very early over there. Hello, welcome. I have James from Ohio. Hello, welcome. Missy from St. Louis, Missouri. Oklahoma. Yes, as I thought, most of you would be from the States here as well. Amanda, Ontario. Okay, there's a lot of you on here. I'm not even going to go through all of them, but I'm just glad you can all hear me, and let's get started. We have an awful lot to get through. I think I have about 100 slides. There's just so much information because this is really a 2-year course. It's a full qualification in interior design. Obviously there's a lot through it, and the only way to really describe it and give you a fair picture of what is involved is to do something like this. So okay, let's get cracking. And first of all, I can see, where is my screen here? There we go. Okay. Little techno problem there, and now I'm fine. Okay, so my name is Maria Flynn. I'm the principal of the Design Academy, and I'm your host this evening. And what is the purpose of this webinar? Basically, I'm going to be giving you details about a scheduled HND interior design course, and I'll explain all about the HND and the value of it and everything else as we go through the webinar. And this is a scheduled course. It's starting on the first week in March. It's actually going to run every Thursday, and it will be starting on the 3rd of March. There's limited places available. It's a 2-year course. However, you will be ready to work in the interior design industry before the end of this year. And I'll explain that as we go along, because we have a very unique structure and approach to the way that we build our courses. So it's really key. It's an absolutely fast track program. I mean, we focus entirely on adult learning. So, you bring a lot to the table that younger college-age students don't. And most of you want to be able to fast track as well. So you will be able to do that with this program. And we really structured it very deliberately. One of the benefits is that you get to train with me personally. Hopefully that's a good benefit, and that will be something that some of you will like, and we can talk about other things like that as we go along. And I'm also going to discuss how the course works, literally, how you log on and get your lessons, how we do, how we interact with each other, fees and application process. So all of that will be covered here. Now, it is going to be about 2 hours long. I said that when you are registering, so hopefully you can stay with me, and I'll make it as valuable as possible for you. So what we're also going to cover is what you need to become a professional interior designer. Who says so? I mean, is it me? Is it somebody else? Is it Joe Blogs down the road? So who defines the rules, basically? What exactly do they say? Why it's important, the things that you do have to learn, why they're important, and basically how can we help you to achieve your goals. We're also going to, just very briefly, we'll go over job opportunities, how to find them, salaries offered, and how much you can expect to earn when you are working in the interior design industry, so that you know ahead of time if it's something that would be worthwhile for you to get into. So a very brief background about me. I've been an interior designer since 1991. I've had my design projects featured in the media, so there's magazines. I've done some high-profile things like Ideal Homes Show. I've done commercial clients, everything from banks to restaurants, private hospital, and I've consulted with leading interior product companies, and that's more the work that I currently do. I've had to slow down in the last few years. There's just not enough hours in the day, and I'm getting a little bit older. So I do a lot of consulting now at the moment. It still is in interior design, but it's mainly working with interior design products, manufacturing, and that type of thing. But I have to say, I do absolutely love interior design. I couldn't do anything else. It's, you know, it's my vocation, and I found it. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that in relatively early stage, but not until I got married. I was also on TV as well. Again, I've been teaching since the mid-1990s. I set up higher education training courses at several colleges. The courses I have created have literally trained thousands of students to date, and I really, really enjoy that and feel very proud. I love to see people achieve and to feel that I've contributed to that. I also wrote a book called Colour Your World, out a long time now. I've actually just got the rights back to it. I'm going to republish it this year because it's out of print at the moment. And I have another book coming out this year, which is one of the reasons I'm going to republish this one as well. So yeah, busy. Okay, so let's start first of all with how to become a professional designer. And I said at the beginning, who says? So this is a screenshot from the IFI, and the IFI is the International Federation of Interior Architects and Designers. I'll put up their website address in a moment. But basically, they are the international body. You can see their webpage, and this is literally just a screenshot that's taken from their homepage. So basically, the International Federation, I'm going to call them the IFI because it's a bit of a mouthful. And I will try not to speak too fast. I hear myself, I'm always being told, Maria, slow down. It's just because I want to get through so much information. So I apologize, and I hope that my Irish accent is not confusing anybody. So I'll try and keep calm. So the IFI is they are basically the global authority for professional interior architects stroke interior designers. And I'll explain the difference because that's a common question as well. I'll explain the difference in just a moment between that. They're a non-profit organization. They were founded in Copenhagen in Denmark in 1963. And they are often considered to be the UN of the interior architecture stroke design field. Essentially, they're considered to be the global voice and authority for professional interior designers and architects. The main purpose of the IFI is to represent the interior design industry at an international level. And the reason that they do this is so that there is a clear understanding globally of the profession, of the standards required in the profession, and what type of education and training is needed to be successful in the industry. So they set this really at a global level. They also give us a clear definition of what an interior designer or interior architect should be. I'll start by answering that question because, again, this is one of the most common things. What's the difference? As far as the IFI is concerned, they're one and the same. An interior designer and an interior architect are one and the same. And it will depend on where you live, what the norms are in your country, and even in your region, whether you call yourself an interior designer or an interior architect. Now, the vast majority of you on here tonight are from the US and from Canada. And I can tell you that it is commonly understood. The role of the interior designer is commonly understood in those countries, and people will have you will call an interior decorator someone who just goes in and chooses furnishings and finishes and colors and all the decorative items. Here in the UK and in Ireland, where I'm from as well, if I told someone I was interior decorator, they would expect me to turn up with paintbrushes and wallpaper, because we're considering a decorator to be someone who actually carries out the work. So I was speaking with somebody in the States a few months ago, actually, and he was saying to me, I think this is a very pretentious way people call themselves interior architects. And I said, well, okay. I said, I've always done it. And one of the reasons that I have, first of all, in Europe, that is the official title in a lot of countries in Europe. And in UK, it's very mixed at the moment. I've always called myself that simply because, well, A, I'm qualified to, but also, and the main reason, more than that, so, is because people ask me then. They don't just assume what I do. It gives them the chance to actually question me, and I can tell them, rather than just assuming that I pick colours and curtains and that type of thing. So that's my reason for it. The best thing for you to know, I believe that in the States and Canada, you cannot call yourself an interior architect unless you actually have an architectural degree, but I'm not sure. And the best place to start would be with your national associations, and I'll list them in just a moment as well. So again, that just is to answer that question. And they have given us a definition of what an interior architect and interior designer is. They say it's a person who's qualified by education, experience, and skills, who identifies, researches, and creatively solves problems pertaining to the function and quality of the interior environment. They perform services relative to interior spaces, including programming, design analysis, space planning, aesthetics, and inspection of work on site, using specialized knowledge of interior construction, building systems and components, building regulations, equipment, materials, and furnishings. And they also prepare drawings and documents relative to the design of interior space in order to enhance the quality of life and protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So you can see it is a little bit more than just picking carpets and curtains. So in layman's terms, really, what this is saying is an interior designer should have the skills and knowledge to really completely design interior spaces. That will often involve remodeling or renovating existing buildings. And in order to do that, you need to understand the fundamentals of building construction. Also working with materials. And when I say materials, I don't mean fabric. I'm talking about things such as, wood, stone, plastic, how to work with and design with raw materials. And how to work with and integrate all the various services within a building. Everything from electricity and plumbing to things such as HVAC, which stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. You also need to ensure that your designs conform to relevant building regulations and codes. That's a key part of the job as well. So it's widely assumed that an interior designer will create an aesthetically pleasing environment and it will look great. I mean, that's just accepted. But it's just as important that you design interiors that are practical. And again, they talk here about the safety, health and safety. So, and enhancing quality of life. I mean, I really, really believe passionately about design enhancing the quality of life for the building occupants. That's a huge thing. And I'm sure if any of you, most of the people here, I'm sure you have a strong interest. You watch the TV shows, you read the magazines, and if you see shows like Extreme Makeover, I mean, that's just a pure example of where they can go in and just, literally change people's lives by bringing their home up to date. It does. It affects our quality of life. So getting back to their definition here, in every interior design project, there's a multitude of variables. And, and during the course of your design process, you're going to have to make different evaluations. You're going to have to solve problems. And then you're going to have to juggle all the various elements to find the best solutions for your clients. So, it is quite a skill and quite a balancing act. Also, an integral part of the design process is producing drawings and documents so that they act as instructions for your design ideas. That's really what they are. It's not that we want to be artists. You know, everything has a purpose, and it's about implementing and communicating your ideas. And if you're involved with project management, as is very often the case, you'll also need to produce budgets and work schedules. And you'll need to be kind of actively involved in monitoring a project so that it gets completed effectively. And you'll need to be able to check off that things are carried off to the necessary standards. So I'll cover that as we go along as well. But this is really the role of the interior designer. So I just wanted to bring that up so you could actually see that there. Now, this page that I have here, this is the membership page from the IFI. And you'll see here, basically this lists all of the national associations from around the world. And so the British Institute of Interior Design, American Society of Interior Designers, International Interior Design Association, which is also in the States, Interior Designers of Canada, and Design Institute of Australia. These are just the main ones that I've listed here, and I know that I can see that some of you are from other places as well. So you can find them by just literally going to their website and just going on to this. So basically, they're listed in alphabetical order, so you can easily find your country. And these member associations all agree to abide by the rules and regulations of the IFI. So the first question we said is, who says you need what you need to become an interior designer? Who is it that sets the rules? And basically, it's the IFI. So that's your question of who. The next thing that we said is, what do they actually say? What do you actually need? So they have a curriculum reference. I'm not going to go through this because you can actually, really, I've already just done that by kind of going over this in layman's terms. But this is the curriculum reference from the IFI. It says here the topics that should be covered. You will notice that this was done in 1983. So it's a little bit out of date. A lot has changed in the industry, but again, they're more small details. Overall, the education and the topics that are covered still are as relevant today. Two things I want to point out here. It says the education training would normally be a minimum of 4 years duration. And it also talks here about the curriculum should include. There is a very, very big shift happening in education, but education the world over is slow to move to change, which is why we are a private organization, because we still have to operate obviously within the remit that they provide, but we can actually move and adapt quite quickly. And whereas courses and qualifications used to be based on the content that was covered, even though you had to pass exams or do a thesis or whatever, it was still very, very largely based on the content, whereas now they're based on learning outcomes. This is the change. It's taking its while to drip down, but what it is courses are now based on what you actually learn on the course, and it's a shift. It may seem subtle, but it's a very big improvement, because it's focusing on the learner and what you will learn on a course, as opposed to what a course provider will be teaching. And the other thing here is about the 4 years duration. I am absolutely committed to lifelong learning. I love learning. I don't think I'll ever stop. But the other thing about it is, I think it's quality, not quantity. And I'm always very pleased. I go to see end of year shows from students. If you go to the colleges that run full-time interior design courses, they'll usually put on an end-of-year show of student work. And I'm never disappointed, because I always see, colleges that run 3 and 4 year degree courses, and the work is very good, but the work is just as good, if not better, from our students, and I always feel very proud of that. So again, it's something that I think it's quality, not quantity, and the proof is in the pudding there as well. Things are changing, and again, we achieve really high standards even with a short period of time. So what I will do is, I imagine most of you have got the prospectus by now. If you haven't, do get it after this, and you'll be able to cross-reference it with this if you are so inclined and you want to check it out, you will be able to see that everything that they recommend is also covered in our prospectus as well. So just to get back to this membership association, and again, with all of these, you'll also find us listed on their websites as well. So we are an approved provider of courses, so you can go to any of these organizations and look up. You may have to dig a little bit deep because they don't kind of put them straight up on their homepage, but you know, we are actually on there with all of them, and we do get some referrals from them. So the other thing, in addition to the curriculum reference, the IFI also stipulates that the interior design course must be academically accredited, that it has to have a university credit value. And the reason this is so important is because it's the only way to transfer qualifications from one country to another. So our award, HND in interior design, is equivalent to the first 2 years of a university program. So it's also equivalent, it's just a different title, but it's also equivalent to a foundation degree or an associate degree. And they have credit values. So HND is equal to 240 UK university credits, and that's 64 US semester credits. As I said, it's equivalent to a foundation degree, and it forms the first 2 years of a BA honours. So if you want to, you can actually go on and do an additional year, and we can feed you into a program as well, where you can go on and just do a final year and obtain a full degree if you want to afterwards. And that's really one of the benefits. The other thing is you don't need any previous experience or qualifications. There are no prerequisites to enroll on this course. It's something that personally I continually battle over, because being in an academic world and dealing with academic bodies, they really like to say, well, you must have this and you must have that, and you should have, you know, a foundation course and etc. before you sign up. And I'm quite adamant, and I've always, but it comes a sticking point every year during a conversation, that, you know, we deal with adult learners. People are coming to this knowing what they want. And to be perfectly honest with you, as long as you're willing to learn and you know, do what's required, if you're willing to learn and if you're motivated enough to commit your time and your money to it, well, then we can teach you. And you know, the proof is in the pudding. And that's also, sometimes they do say to us, well, look, at the end of the day, you get the results and that's it. So we're not going to argue with you. So that's something that I feel very, very strongly about as well. And again, you can go on. I love the fact that you can actually, you know, choose what you want. You should never have to, at this point, go back and start something again. So why becoming an interior designer as well? I also think, you know, choose a job that you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I'm a devil for quotes. I have them everywhere, all over my office, all over my home, and I just find that they can say so much in just a few words, unlike me. I know my faults. And interior design is one of the highest job satisfaction ratings. Now, you can check this afterwards if you want to. This is on YouTube. If you Google major decisions, it's a career advice channel. And I came across this where they independently ran, you know, surveys, and, you know, interior design by their standards had the highest job satisfaction rating. And I'm not surprised. You know, it makes such a difference to do something that you love. And I just think life is too short. If you're going to spend most of your day in work, why not do something that you love? And I think so many people, we have responsibilities. You know, we leave school, we have responsibilities, we do things, and we get caught in, you know, in jobs that we didn't really think about. An awful lot of the time we just kind of fell into them, or, you know, it was just a natural path that was mapped out for us, rather than really thinking about what we seriously wanted to do. So for me, this is just really the critical thing. And I really do love the fact that so many people find themselves again through the courses. So you know, and you can see that there's other scores here, work-life balance, all of this. And again, this is my little diagram here as well. It's just to say, look, that work-life balance, I don't think it should have to be one or the other. And you can have it all, and you really can. So look, we'll have a look at the rest of the things. I'm not going to chat about this. I could very easily. Yeah, let's keep going. Okay, so what I want to do is show you the course content and just go through. The HND is split into 2 stages. Okay, stage 1 is in its own right a qualification. It is actually a HNC. It's called a HNC. Now, you won't receive the HNC because, again, academic rules, you cannot submit the same work to have 2 different qualifications. They require you to do things again. But what you will receive is when you finish stage 1, you'll receive a diploma from us. And more importantly, at that point, you'll have a portfolio, which is what will enable you to start working in the industry. I'll explain more about that afterwards. So the first stage is really, and the reason that we can do this is we focus primarily on the interior decoration side of it in the first stage. There's obviously more to it than that, but that in itself is such a huge skill set. So we really start with that. We'll start with visual communication. Excuse me just a moment. I'm just going to turn off my mic and cough for a moment. Now, excuse me, I'm sorry. I had a flu a few weeks ago and I just cannot shake the end of it. I'm not sure. So anyway, right. So effective visual communication. This is really what the technical skills is all about. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we have various tools that do this. We have things called mood boards, sample boards. They're both different. They both have their uses. There's different ways of doing them. Originally, we would have always done these by hand. You would have cut out various things and put them together. Now there's digital tools that we can use. They make life an awful lot easier in some ways, but they have their advantages and their disadvantages. There's pros and cons to both of them. You need to be able to do all of them. And the thing about it is, the real key is to be able to visually communicate. If you've got something inside your head you want to be able to show your clients from the word go. The other thing is, this is a tool for you as a designer to be able to get inside your client's head, to actually, because someone might say, well, I like a country style. Their definition of a country style could be completely different to yours. So everything's about getting the tools and starting to be able to recognize things. As soon as you do that, we start you with the tools, and then you will start using them to communicate your ideas to us. And what we'll start to learn is about style and design. So what are all the things that make a particular style? I'm sure that most of you probably have had some success of style yourself, and that's what's attracted you to this course in the first place. But can you, and answer the question, if you can type it in here, just even type a simple yes or no, could you easily describe your style and explain how to achieve it? Just type in a quick yes or no, and make sure that you'll stay awake as well. I don't put you to sleep. Okay. Few yeses and a few nos. Oh, well, fair. Well done for those of you who've said yes as well. Oopsie daisies. Sorry, lost my screen there for just a moment. Okay, yes, no, no, no. Okay, more no's than yeses, but that's normal. And the thing about it is, as a designer, you need to be able to. Every specialism has its own vocabularies. So if you look at doctors, they'll talk about contusions and you know, something being chronic or bronchial. They refer to different parts of the body as, you know, cardial or neurology. So they have their own phrases. And interior design is exactly the same. We talk about, the words are much more common. We talk about symmetry and balance, but we also talk about things like vertical stress, like repetition, progression. And the thing about it is, having a vocabulary, it's not about sounding good, but having this vocabulary gives you a new insight and a whole new way of understanding. So this is something that you learn straight away on the course, and you will start to recognize what works. You'll be able to describe what works. And what we'll have you doing from the word go as well is looking at interior. I don't want to hear anybody say, I don't like an interior. That's fine. What I want you to tell me is it right? Is it wrong? And when I say, is it right or is it wrong, does it work or does it not work? Is it harmonious or is it not? And if it's not, why isn't it? What's wrong with it? And what can you do to make it better? And this is the key to it, because you'll start to really recognize, and the vocabulary will start to, you'll look at things with new eyes, and you'll also start to learn, that's how that works together. That's how that works together. You'll not only be able to describe your own style with confidence, but you'll also be able to appreciate other styles. And if that's something that you don't have at this stage, and I imagine that most of you don't have it at this stage, because that's something that actually comes with training, that you can actually recognize any style. And that's very important as an interior designer, because you need to be able to interpret your client style ultimately. So again, we look at all of the things that make a style. I keep losing my screen here. I apologize. I'm having... No, here I am. Okay. So we look at all of the things that define a style, and they start with the big things. So you're talking about the surface finishes, walls, floors, everything. And, so again, you might look at this picture and say, oh, wood paneling is a country style. This is kind of like, a cross between a country and a contemporary interior. But at the same time, it can also be a very classic feature as well. So, what are the things that make that define a style? So from the big items right down to the small items, if you don't think accessories are important, they are probably one of the most important things when it comes to style. And it makes all the difference between an interior that is just perfectly balanced and harmonious. And it's not about having something pristine, but just everything works and you feel really comfortable in it, versus even the content of the pictures, all of those types of things. So again, looking at style, understanding all the things from the big things to the small, and again looking at even the small things. Something as simple as even a chair leg will make a difference. And this is, you'll be able to start looking at things objectively, so that you can recognize. And if you don't think, I think you can even see in this image, it doesn't even work with, what's on with the image on the left here. It just doesn't sit right on the same page. But here's another example as well. Small detail of a furniture leg, but wow, does that make a difference? So everything makes a difference. And again, it's when you understand how to pick all of those details, that's when you get things that are really, really harmonious and that really work so well. So again, we look at color. Color is my speciality. I love color. I'm really passionate about color, always have been. And again, I just find that paint is one of the cheapest things and the quickest things that you can do to a room. And I'm passionate about color psychology. If the color that you put on your walls impacts the way that you are, and can impact our health and well-being, then why is everywhere painted white, or some dismal, just taupe color? And I'm not saying that I want to have bright colors all the time. I love neutrals, I love everything, but again, it depends on the circumstances. So there's so much to learn about color. And I do think that when you're starting off, I remember when I was starting off, I would have looked at something, we call this a fan deck. If you get a kind of book of all of the swatches of colors, and you might look at this and think, oh God, where would I start to choose color? The funny thing is, when you get experience with color, you'll find that there's never enough. I have loads of these from different paint manufacturers, and I still never find I have enough. Oh, I want one halfway between this and halfway between that. So you'll learn how to create color schemes, from things using the color wheel to as a starting point, as a tool that you can use to actually fix schemes. And ultimately, it's about very practical. What I do love about this course is everything about it is very practical. And, you know, one of the things that we have, one of the assignments that we had, you know, after you start to learn about color, is you have to find something that you dislike, you know, an ugly piece of fabric or an ugly piece of uh, wall covering or something like that, and then you actually have to make it look good. And I've always said, and I still firmly believe, there is no such thing as a bad color. You can make any color look good depending on what you put and how you juxtapose other things within it. So this is one example of, this is just a student's assignment. They picked this ugly fabric, and this is the scheme that they developed around it. And you know, I think all of a sudden, yeah, it's quite an ugly piece of fabric, but it fits, it works here. You know, it's just an example. This is another one, somebody else's. They picked this. And again, here's their sample board, or here's their mood board that they did to tie around it. So what I'm also thinking as well is practical skills. As I said at the end of stage one, everything is geared towards you having a portfolio so that you can also start working in the industry. There's a lot of work available in large department stores and specialist home decor stores, furniture, high-end furniture stores for interior designers. And you know, this skill set is the key, because not only that, I mean, if you work in a large department store where they have an interior department, interior design department, you know, they might have a particular product or something that you know hasn't been selling as well as they hoped. So you know, these skills make you really valuable, because all of a sudden you know how to make it look good, and you know, that's the way to sell things as well. So you know, even the assignments are geared towards you having some fun, enjoying the process of learning, but also building, you know, real tools that will actually help to sell your services in the future. So curtains and soft furnishings, major item. The thing about them is they're probably one of the most expensive things after flooring. They can be, you know, flooring and your major furniture items. And they're functional. It's not just about aesthetics. I don't think a room is finished without them. But the other thing about it is they give you privacy. They give you shade in the summer. You know, they can also be just as effective as double glazing in terms of, you know, reducing heating costs and conserving energy. So, you know, there's all of the practical issues. And I actually started in curtains and soft furnishings very quickly. I'm not going to get sidetracked because we have too much to get through. But how I actually started in interior design was when I got married. I got married and I wanted curtains for my kitchen, and we just didn't have any money whatsoever. And you know, I had inherited a sewing machine from my mother, which I never saw her use. She'd said she made something for me when I was small, but I don't even remember it, although there is evidence in a photograph somewhere. So I had this sewing machine, and I thought, well, I want these curtains. I can't afford to get them. Could I make them? It's only a straight line. So that's how I started. And to be honest with you, I made things for myself. People asked me to make things for them. Then they were asking me, as I was doing my own home, they were asking me to help them. And I just decided, that's it. I wanted to do this. So I signed up for college. I did a part-time, started my own interior design business at the same time, because at that point I had to even set up a curtain workshop. I had people working for me. It's just something I loved. And curtains in itself, there's just so much to curtains. You could do an entire course in itself. It's fascinating. There's a million and one things you can do. And again, understanding all the components of these things, like headings, like banding, you know, mixing fabrics, you know, even, you know, enables you to juggle things. As I was saying at the beginning there, it's all about juggling things. And I don't care what your budget is. I've worked with small budgets and I've worked with huge, huge budgets. And it doesn't matter what your budget is, you need to juggle things continuously. One of the biggest problems for interior design is running out of money. I saw an article there a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't seen it or you haven't heard of the Queen of Versailles, you can Google it. Queen of Versailles, there was a documentary on, and basically it's the biggest house in America, the biggest private house in America. But that project was put on hold, even though they spent absolutely millions on it, because they ran out of money. Now, I have to be honest, I looked at the house and I would have finished it. I would have had it in on budget and everything else as well. But again, that's the skill, and that's important for you as a designer, both for yourself and for other people as well. So, you know, and I also talk about ready-mades, all the different components of a curtain, so you understand how you can put things together. But even ready-mades, I mean, most designers would say, ready-mades? Oh my God, they put their nose up at them. But one of the great things about them, one of the biggest costs of curtains is the fabric, because to buy the fabric and then to have them made up is so expensive. And sometimes by just buying ready-mades, you can get access to a huge quantity of fabric quite cheaply and still use that then. So there's a million and one things that you can do. And again, if you're doing a big project, you know, you might use, say, ready-mades in a, you know, the guest bedrooms, you know, and put a nice pelmet or a nice kind of, you know, heading with them, and they'll look just as nice as somewhere as the other ones, and they can look just, you know, really be good. Some of them could be very, very good quality, but at the end of the day, you're mixing and matching those things. So all of these things is about balancing and juggling. Next, we take you onto plans. Well, actually, we take you onto plans before then, but I just didn't want to get you onto the heavy stuff as well. And this is one of the biggest questions. People always say, oh, but I can't draw. I don't know how to draw. If you knew how, you wouldn't need to learn. So that's why we do it in the course. And we will literally take you step by step. You will start with one room and you will draw the 4 walls. And when you've got that done, then you'll progress. And we literally take you step by step. If you can hold a ruler and a pencil, you can scale draw. And that's the key. And literally, I mean, here's an item of furniture. This is a chair. You can easily see how this could become a sofa. You know, it's just extended. And again, once you have your basic shape, we show you then, oh, this is what you do then to round it off and make it look a bit more realistic. Here's your next step. And then here's your final step. Okay, so we literally show you step by step how to do your plan, how to do your furniture items, how to put them all together. And, you know, that's the key, and you will actually learn. So don't worry about it. As I said, if you can hold a pencil and a ruler, you can actually do this. So plans are flat drawings of a bird's eye view, and elevations. This is an elevation, and I'm sorry, it's a bit lopsided. I couldn't straighten it up. I'm very limited here with PowerPoint. And these are flat drawings of vertical surfaces, i.e. your walls. And the whole thing about these is these are very quick and easy to create once you learn them. Now, most people are daunted, so please don't be daunted if you haven't you know, done anything like this before. But honestly, we'll teach you to look at things in a new way. And if you notice, you're actually looking at something and it's just flat. All it is heights and widths. You know, so this makes it really easy to draw, and all of this will actually carry over, because the other thing is interior designers are expected to be able to draw and sketch on site. You know, there are times when you're just going to need to resolve something. There will be something you know, that happens, unforeseen circumstances, and in order to communicate properly with a contractor, the only way to do it is to sketch out what you want on site. So all of these, you know, the way that we even teach this will actually transfer us over, and, you know, you'll actually develop your sketching, your freehand sketching techniques as well. So, you know, the whole thing is very, very strongly interlinked, you know, and it's woven together and layered upon layer. Now, I've lost my screen again. I do apologize. Okay. Now, this is called rendering. It's basically coloring in for interior designers. And again, this is the same thing. We take you step by step, how to lay down your flat color, how to add a little bit of shading on top of it, then you add your shadows, and ultimately you end up with something that looks realistic. And again, the whole purpose, it's all about visual communication. What will something look like at the end of it? So as I said, once more, we'll take you step by step through this process. We look at different types of materials. How do you actually start showing them? Well, first of all, you do this, then you do this, and then you do this. And something I think that is really, really nice at the moment, and I would really like to do within the next couple of months. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. They have adult coloring books out now at the moment. They've become really, really popular since last year. They just came onto the market and they just skyrocketed. My daughter has about 10 of them. And, you know, it's just such a lovely pastime. So I'm really hoping to be able to produce one in the next couple of months. I just think, you know, apart from anything else, it's just a really lovely pastime as well. But you will be learning all of these things. And ultimately, you will get to the stage, and all of this stuff that I'm showing you on here is students' work, by the way, as well. These are all examples of student work, and they're all different. I haven't used the same student twice, only in one case, which I'll explain as I go along. And the reason is I want you to see, everyone is different, but they all get there. Everyone will get to a high standard, but they don't start that way. Okay, this is where someone starts. Again, this is to show you, please, don't be daunted. We are consistent in terms of the standards of the technical skills and things that you'll get there, but nobody starts that way. And this is a really, really important part of the course. The first assignment is a room, and this is someone's first assignment, okay? And in fact, this is not really their first assignment. This was their first one. They had to redo it, which is quite normal for the first drawing assignment, okay? But after that, you get to grow very, very quickly in leaps and bounds. So once someone goes from that, they go from that to drawing a plan. And if you look at this plan, it doesn't look like those ones that I showed you just a moment ago. But don't forget, this is someone's first attempt at drawing a plan. What I'm looking for here is to see that everything is accurately scaled, that it's neat, that it's such and such. What is detracting from this is the way that the text is written on. They've also attempted rendering, which I don't think they should be doing at this point. Sometimes people try and jump ahead a little bit, but you need to do something properly or not at all. Sometimes it's better to leave some things off. But again, this is not to be critical. What I'm saying here is this is how you learn. No one starts off that good. And it's the whole process that will actually get you there. Again, as I was saying about, visual communication, all of your drawings are ultimately tools that you will use to get things done. Has anybody, again, I'm just making sure that you're still with me and you're still awake, has anybody ever tried to get a job done in your own home and you think you've explained it clearly to somebody what you want, and then when you come back, they've done something completely different? Type in yes or no. And if you've had a big mishap, let us know, and we will see. Okay, most of us at some point have had those instances where we have explained, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do this, 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 and then all of a sudden it's different. It's heartbreaking, it's soul destroying, and often it's very costly. However, when you are doing this for a client, you can't afford to have those mistakes. And ultimately, the thing about it is, if your project's managing a job and something's not done correctly, it's going to result back on you as well. It's going to come back to you. So, all of the drawings and things that you do are about communication. So, if I wanted to do just a simple feature like this, like, just to have something on the wall here, I would do an elevation, quick elevation with, just dimensions. And I want to show you, this is someone's first elevation. Now, again, this is not a good standard, okay? But this is exactly why I'm showing you this, because it is their first elevation. And this is how you get to be a good standard. Nobody learns to run, or nobody learns to walk by running. At the end of the day, you take small steps first of all, and this is the same way. So we'd give feedback, we'd say X, Y, Z, so that eventually everyone will be able to get up to the high standard. Here is another elevation. Now this is compared to this. You can see, obviously, there's a very notable difference. And also, in terms of even the information, because the other thing about it is, if this was something you had to sketch out on site, this would be perfectly acceptable, except for it doesn't actually even, it says here that this, measurement is 3 inches, but it doesn't say how much above, doesn't explain there. Whereas if I go to the next one, everything here is clear. They've even got the colors on here. Every dimension is there. I mean, that should be, in theory at least, executed very precisely. There's really no excuse for it not to be done. And that's what all of these things are all about. And again, this is where I said, I'm going to show you one student's work. This particular student, I'm going to show you more than once, because again, this student didn't start off like this either. This was, probably about midway, and I've removed most students' names, but I left this one up again for a reason. This was probably about, I think, around assignment 7, maybe 7 or 8. with the elevations. So she'd already had some experience in doing elevations, but this was her standard at the end. Now, I'm not going to show you this video. What I will do is afterwards, tomorrow, I will follow up with all of you with an email, and I'll send you a link to this as well. You can also get there from the website. If you go onto the website, basically, this is Lawrence Marsh. Actually, I'll run it for a moment. Okay, I'll run it just for 30 seconds. Okay, I think you get the general idea, and you can see that there's a number of full portfolios. If you want to go to our YouTube channel as well, there's lots and lots of examples of students' work up there. But the reason I wanted to show this is because Lawrence won multiple awards. The American Society of Interior Designers hold a student competition, and at the end of 2014, she won 3 awards. She won the first in residential interior design, first in commercial interior design, and she won the best in competition. And the reason that I'm particularly proud of that as well is the fact that she actually used her coursework, the work that she had completed for her course and for her assignments. That's what she had actually submitted and won. And again, my reason for showing you this as well is because we've got a nice quote there. And again, most of our students are adult learners. Their age range is anything from, 23, 24, up to about 60. Mainly I'd say from 25 to 55, but we have a mixture of everything, and we've had much older people as well. And again, some people have left school, they haven't had any training before. It doesn't matter. You can get to that standard. And as you saw in her work there, in what she didn't start off with that standard. And this is what the course does as well. So the way that it's taught is really critical. So how do you become an excellent designer? So, and why is our course different? We've still got loads to cover. We're only just scratching the surface here, but I think this is really key. We are what we repeatedly do. I told you I'm the devil for quotes. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So really the key to getting good at anything is practice and consistency. And this is one of the reasons that other courses don't often achieve the standards. And when I'm talking about other courses, we specialize in online learning and adult learning. And I know that if you want to learn interior design by online learning, you will not find a better alternative. I just know it's not there. That's the only reason that I'm still doing this, because I'm really passionate about it. And one of the reasons is, if you're being graded for something, if you're given an assignment or something to do and you're being graded, and all of a sudden, this is 9 out of 10, or this is a good pass or a merit or a distinction, you're afraid to take chances. But you need to be able to do that. That's the only way that you learn. Another quote. This is down here is John Gray, and I've also heard it attributed to Ben Franklin. But he says, "Tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me, and I understand. And one of the key things is that assignments are actually learning tools. They shouldn't be just assessment tools. They're not just to test you on what you've done. They're to actually help to teach you. So we use them in that way. But it's a very, very different approach. And it's double, even triple and quadruple workload for us, but we really try to reduce the work for you. And the reason that we do this as well, it allows you to take chances. And again, we've heard that, here's another quote from Ellen, but we've heard so many people say this: when you take risks, you learn. There'll be times when you succeed, times when you fail. Both are important. We all say we learn from our mistakes, but when you're doing any type of course, you become afraid to make mistakes because you're afraid that it's going to, go against your grades. And everybody wants to do well. However, you need the opportunity to fail. You need the opportunity to fail without penalty. And that's why we have learning assignments. So at the end of each lesson, you have a learning assignment. You complete that. We will not let you go on to the next one until you've got that one right. So you have to get that skill set. But once you've got the fundamentals there, then you move on to the next one. And again, it's the feedback, the continual feedback and the guidance that will help you to improve your skills. And you're continually repeating and getting better and better at the skills that you're actually learning. And then when you've mastered them, that's when we give you a graded assessment. So it's at that point when you feel comfortable with something and that you can, you've been able to go through that learning process, only at that point you're graded. And it's just worth saying here as well, an awful lot of colleges, what they do is tick the boxes. If we look at, even the curriculum reference that I had at the beginning there, you must learn this and you must learn this and you must learn this. Most of the colleges, I don't know anyone who does it like us. That's honestly, if you find someone, please let me know, because I don't know anyone else who does. And what they'll do is they'll have their little list of things for you to learn. And then once you've done this one, then they tick that box and they move on to the next one. You've done this one, they tick that box. We're not just about teaching you, we're about preparing you for the industry. And the only way for you to be able to work in the industry is to have really good skills and knowledge, not just enough to learn. Yes, I can do a scale plan, might not be fantastic, but you've got to have a good level of skill, technical skill and knowledge, and that ultimately is about demonstrating your creativity, which you will also nurture as you go through the process of the course, and that is going to be the key to you being successful in the industry. So that's why we do it the way we do. But also what we do is we take the assignments that you're learning, and then with our say for example, we'll give you a 2-bedroom apartment project, and for one assignment you pick flooring, for another one you pick wall coverings, and there's more to it than that, obviously. But then we'll give you a project which is based on that same 2-bedroom apartment. And the reason being is that you don't have to start again from scratch. However, at this stage, once you have become much better, then you can actually incorporate any feedback, any learning, and then you can give it your best shot, get a good grade. But even more importantly than your grade is actually have a strong portfolio, because ultimately that is what's going to get you working in the industry. And to just go back to this as well, I see in there has gone on spending too much time. So again, the technical skills, the plans, all of those kind of things, they're important, but they're only important because they communicate your design ideas. That's really the key. However, they need to be to a professional standard if you want to compete in the industry. So that's why we're on about them. And a word about CAD here as well. CAD is covered in the course. And CAD stands for computer-aided drafting. CAD is commonly referred to, people use it to talk about AutoCAD, which is one form of it, but we introduce it in the course. You don't need any special software. Everything you need will be provided. However, we don't introduce it straight away because you need to learn to draw by hand first of all, and then also it depends on what career path you want to go into, what type of CAD will be most suitable. So that's something that we'll discuss in detail on the course as well. So again, ultimately, all of these things are about, implementing your design ideas. And I asked that question. There was an equal amount of yeses and nos, I think. Have you ever done something and had it done incorrectly? Well, again, if you show this to a contractor, there's no way that they'll have an excuse to put that flooring the other way. And ultimately, that's what all of these things are. If you want a feature wall painted, this is the way to, there's no way that they can do the wrong wall if you've got something. So it's all about, communicating your ideas, selling your ideas to clients, visually communicating them in one way, and then, giving very, very clear instructions, we call them specifications, to your various contractors and tradespeople so that they can actually implement your designs. We'll give you templates for all of these kind of things, but what we'll also show you is the thinking behind the process, so that you can do your own things as well. Because ultimately, you want to get started, and you want a template to help you get started so that you can get cracking. But also, if we explain the thinking, it's the whole thing of, give a man a fish or teach him to fish. And I think it's very important that when we teach you the thinking behind it, you'll be able to then go off and develop, because we can't see every single eventuality. And, once you can understand what it is you need to show, how you do things, then you can adapt things yourself as well. So that's a really, really key part of the course. And ultimately, all of these things are about designing, where you place things, using your tools then as well, for space planning, for making sure that things fit, for making sure that there's enough room to walk around the bed, to open the dishwasher, all of those things as well. I don't think, again, I know most of you here are from the States, and a couple from Canada here as well. You don't have as many issues with space as we do over here. I live in London, and I've got quite a spacious place, but even still, it's not on the same scale as you would have just for norm over there. You just tend to have an awful lot more space, so you become very, very creative working with space, let me tell you. So that is all just stage one. And I'm going to just pause here for one more moment again. I think I was not talking there, and I think now I'm speaking. Was I not speaking for the last 20 minutes? Nobody said anything. Type in. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if I was speaking or not speaking. Hello? Hello? Okay. Type in if you can hear me, please. I'm just not sure. Okay, can you type in if you can hear me? Hear me loud and clear. Okay, right. Now, that's fine. Yes, okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if I had turned off my mic there for just a moment. So I take it that I wasn't uttering to myself there for the last half hour. Okay, so basically, the first stage of the course is really everything that we've described there. It focuses on interior design and decoration. It's above, it goes beyond interior decoration, and it starts with the fundamentals of interior design. But again, it's all of those components that you need to really create a beautiful interior. Obviously, there's practical skills as well. And the oh, sorry, I'm just going to go back on here. And this stage of the course will actually be completed by the end of December this year. So this is particularly why it's a fast track program. So ultimately, you can actually be working in the interior design industry before the end of this year. We'll look at a couple of job opportunities at the end, because I'll cover them all together. But as I was saying very briefly there's lots of opportunities around. And one of the key things as well, particularly in the US and Canada, is that you need to become licensed in most states and territories. You need to become licensed to be a practicing interior designer. And the only way that you can do that is to meet minimum educational requirements, which our courses do. And also you need to have experience. They will accept you as student members, and I think there's different types of membership depending on what level of experience you have. But to become a fully fledged member of any of the interior design associations, you will actually, and to qualify for your licensing so that you can operate independently, you will need to have a certain level of practical experience in the field, and it's usually a couple of years. So this is one reason that it's really important, if you are really thinking about going into this as a career, that you can get involved and transition as quickly as possible, because this will enable you to do it. So you're also then building your experience while you continue to learn as well. So that's a really, really valuable aspect, I feel. I put this on. I'm not even going to look at this. I'm sure most of you have seen this video from the website. If you haven't, take a look at it afterwards. I think it's, again, it puts very briefly, but it's quite inspiring about the stage 2 of the HND. I put it up here just in case I might have time, but I'm definitely not going to, so I'm going to go beyond that. And again, so stage 2, so in the first stage you're really looking at all the decorative elements. In stage 2 you're looking at the actual space. So again, if you're going to start working with space, you need to be able to understand the fundamentals of building construction. And again, you need to understand them as it relates to an interior designer. You don't need to learn about roofs and foundations. You don't need to learn about these things. But what you do need to learn about is, what's a load-bearing wall? What are your restrictions? What can you move and not move? There are certain things that you can do, but you'll have to have them signed off by a structural engineer. So ultimately, you should be able to, as a designer, go in and gut and completely rebuild a space if you want to. You could completely remodel everything. And the great thing about that is, when you're actually involved at that stage of a project, you have so much more scope for design. And that's why it's at this stage that we bring in, working with materials such as, working with glass, with plastic, with raw wood, with marble, and then again, all of the services that will go into a building as well. So, if you're going to look at things in new ways and notice things that you've never ever noticed before as well. So for me, the whole structure, I remember when I went to college, when I looking at ceilings, I'd go into shops and I never used to look at clothes anymore. I still do this, actually, not so much anymore, but I did for a long time. It used to drive my husband crazy. I'd go in a shop and I'd be looking at the ceiling and looking at the fittings and the fixtures, and I go, oh, how did they do that? How did they do this? So you'll just look at things in different ways. It gives you a whole new sight. And again, these are the things that, as an interior designer, this is, to me, what an interior designer brings to the project. If you are doing any kind of major renovation work, small details, the small details in the actual structure can make the biggest difference. And this is particularly important in places where you have a small area to work with, because you don't want to crowd it with actual, things such as furniture and heavy furnishings. And also, it really comes into play in commercial interiors, which is also covered on the course as well. Looking at ceilings there, so you're looking at walls, floors, you're going to discover things that you didn't even know existed. Maybe you do know some of these. This is actually a plastic ceiling. This is called a stretch ceiling. They're used mainly in commercial interiors, but you can see an example of this in a residential interior. The thing about them is they're easy to put up. But a ceiling is generally a structural item, and what I love about this is you can just do really, really unique and bespoke things. I mean, you can clearly get an idea of how this will look in the room. And like, if you look at it here it's in a commercial interior, but they've got lighting behind it as well. And for me, there's just so much creativity. When you can get in with the structure of building, it just opens up so much more possibility. So again, looking at the different types of materials, you look at how to work with metals, how to work with wood, how to work with glass, and you'll learn about basically, the different factors that control whether or not you can work with a material. There's a million and one things that you wouldn't even consider. I mean, if I look at this in the image here, on the right-hand side here, we can see these marble, these lengths of marble. again, and you know, you can actually see this is layered, this is mixed here with, you know, this kind of like silver inlay. Now you may actually discover as you go along that, you know, these marble slabs that you want to use are only available in XYZ, you know, size. And you may or you may discover that these marble slabs are available, but they cost, you know, that they cost $5,000. Okay. And if you want to get them made to the actual size of the wall, it's going to cost you $20,000. And the reason it doesn't seem, might seem like, you know, totally, where does that come from? The reason is because they you know, do them in these prefabricated sizes. If they wanted to do something bespoke for you, they'd have to set up the machinery. You learn about all these things. So, you know, what are the factors? What are the factors that will affect your design? What are the factors that will affect your choice of materials? And as I was saying before, you know, it's all about juggling. So you'll start to look at things, see what is available, discover what's available in your area, and, you know, and therefore, you know, sometimes this leads to a more creative design process as well. You know, how are things fixed? How is that fixed to the wall? You know, all of these things are covered so that, you know, you really get to work with structure. And again, when you get to work with structure, lighting is such a big component of interior design. It's just a really key feature. I think a lighting scheme can make or break an interior. But again, a lot of people aren't going to really invest in a good quality lighting design if they have their structural work completed, because you have to hide the wiring, you have to integrate everything within the building, you know, and it's messy. Nobody wants to go back and do that again if they have already done it. So all of that. So again, your lighting, and if you want to do a luxury bathroom like this, you know, you can apply these things to both residential and commercial interiors. And, you know, even if you only want to do residential, you know, if you want to do, you know, high-end design, and particularly you'll be working with bathrooms and kitchens, you need to have an understanding of the fundamentals of construction for that reason. The other thing about lighting, again, it's a technical thing as well. You know, it's a really, you know, fun topic. There's an awful lot to it, but there is technical issues like, you know, how much lighting do you need? There are requirements to enable people to work effectively, to show products up to a certain way. What are the recommendations? And then how do you want, you know, how do you specify these things? You know, how do you specify, because you will ultimately have to integrate or decide how these are going to be integrated within the building. At this point also, you'll be taking your drawing level, your skill up a notch. And at this point, you will be working probably with CAD quite a bit as well. But the reason that I showed this as well is, you know, again, you know, what I'm looking for here is you'll learn to start to read plans. And what I'm looking at here is what this has shown me very simply. You can see the number 3 here, here, and here, and they all go to there. This shows me that this light is controlled by a 3-way switch here, here, and here. So, you know, another thing is that when you are not in the design world, you can look at the portfolio, someone's portfolio, and say, okay, yeah, that looks very nice. And you look at somebody else's and they all look very nice, but you can't really tell too much of a difference. But to me, this is the real key as well. What I'm looking for in someone's work is I also want to see a demonstration that they've planned. You know, this is, someone's already planned here. Well, you can turn the light off here and here. I know it's a simple thing, but you know, this is what I'm looking for, evidence of this. And this is what comes through in all of your drawings, your specifications, all of those things. So as you get to work with bigger projects, and particularly with remodels as well, the size of your budgets go up. And for that reason, you also need to get better at communication. And at that point, you'll be doing 3D work. So again, we will teach you how to do it. You'll learn it with CAD, and you'll also learn to do it by hand. And again, everyone does it. This is called an axonometric. This is actually quite a simple. Trust me, this is somebody's first. The assignment that you're seeing here, the drawing that you're seeing here on the left, this is somebody's first attempt, and that's really quite typical. Here's somebody else's first attempt. And in all honesty, it's not a million miles to go from here to here. All they've just done is add a few accessories. They've just had more confidence to be able to do it. So again, like the other courses, we literally take you step by step, and we start you with very simple. We start you with a kitchen, because it's all straight lines, and once you've got that, then you can apply it. This is a perspective. If you look back at the last slides that I showed you, this is, it's called an axonometric. It's projected up. Everything is projected just straight up vertically, whereas the perspective is more realistic. And again, this is a little bit more difficult to do, but also learning these will also help your freehand skills as well. So again, this is someone's first attempt, and this is somebody else's first attempt. And again, even if this is yours on the left, the next time you'll be doing this, because the thing about it is, it's not a million miles away. So all of this is how you're building up your skill level. And again, it's not that we're entirely focused on technical skills, but as I said, they used to communicate your ideas, and they also communicate your ideas to us, so we will be reading them. And the reason I also go on about this as well is because it's the number one question people always ask: can I learn that? Can I learn that? How can you teach me? And to be honest with you, when we first started running courses, everyone said, you can't teach that by distance learning. You can't teach that by online learning. Well, do you know what? We do, and we do it consistently. So there. And you can do, I think, again, it depends on your ability to teach, and the course really has been structured in a way, and it achieves the results. The proof is in the pudding. And again, this is someone's assignment. This is someone's first attempt at perspective. They've even sent it in, said, oh look, I made a mistake. They realized the mistake as they did it, and then they sent it in with their revision. That was still their first one. This is the only other student where I'm showing you more than one piece of work, again, because I just wanted to show you progression. Because again, that was her first, this was her second one, and this was how she was by the time she completed. So again, it's progression, and it's that ability to do continual assignments back and forward and learn without the fear of failing. And then that's when you actually go and be graded, and that's how you build a strong portfolio. So again, different examples of different students, and everyone here is different. These are both from the same student, but again, this, you will get there. If you want to do it, we will take you and get you there through it. And again, this goes back again to, ultimately, if I look at that last drawing here, you can see like this is an unusual feature here. So this is a bespoke design. When so you're coming up with all of these things, changes of ceiling level, intricate details within your designs, and then you'll be able to communicate them. So this design is very thorough. This would obviously be accompanied by a written specification as well. But I mean, just even having a quick look at this, you can actually see that the details are there that would enable that to be executed. And that's how the great designs are born, really, that way. Now, another very important, and from my reasoning in many ways, it's worth doing the HND, the full HND, just for this alone, because as I said, the number one project for the failure of interior design projects, the number one reason is not being able to manage a budget, and you can't afford to do that when you're working with a client. So we will literally take you step by step. I'll give you templates. I'll give you templates that you can even put your figures into, and they add them up. But I will also teach you how to do it. And the other thing about a budget is, very often when you go to a client, I think this is where the experience really comes in. When you go to a client, they don't have any idea of how much a project is going to cost to start off with. So, you might ask them what their budget is, but they just don't have a clue. So I've always found I use two approaches. What I would do is I would prepare an outline budget for a client, and then I would prepare a detailed budget. And my outline budget would be if someone doesn't know what they want, but they know the quality of the finishes they want. I would say, okay, right, I'll come back to you. I'm going to come back with, a preliminary design, and I would have a fee for that as well. And I would say, here's this and here's the outline budget, and I have a way of creating a budget very, very quickly that is actually very, very accurate. But it's based on the quality of the materials that you're going to put into a job. And then if they decide, yes, we want to go ahead with that, that's when you can start choosing the individual things. It's only at that point that you spend your time really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the design process. And if they say, well, that's too high, well, it's only an outline budget. You can very easily, with just a flick of a button, change that budget. And then that can be accommodated. Or if they say, well, I want to have something extra, you can do those things. So project management is the key to your design projects being successful. Part of it is being able to manage the budgets, but also using everything so that you can have your contracts. And again, this is one of the key reasons for your drawings and your specifications, because they also act as contracts. When I spoke earlier on and said about if you've ever had a job that went wrong, is my mic gone again? No. You can hear me, yes. If you ever had a job that went wrong, how did it go? And you thought you've explained something to somebody to do, and then they haven't done it properly. This is not going to happen. And the thing about it is, if you've got very clear documents and drawings, they also act as your contract. And the thing is, if somebody does something wrong, then the onus is on them to fix it. So it's not going to cost you. So you'll also learn how to use all of these things, how to put all of these things together, so that ultimately you can get a job done, get it done accurately the way that you want it as well. Okay. Excuse me just a moment. Back on here. Move my screen. A key part of project management is scheduling. This is a very key component. Again, just working out, when somebody will come in to, take the walls down, when you need to have somebody else. So, you be scheduling all the contractors and making them all fit. And you need to do this very carefully as well. There's an art in this, but you will cover this on the course. And again, we'll take you step by step. So again, I can't zoom in here, so I just did another screenshot, but it's very logical. You can see, okay, the wiring goes in, HVAC installation, drywall, but we start you simpler with basically, you'll even do this with at the first stage with say decorating a room and because you'll have tilers and you'll have different things like that. But obviously at this stage it's much more comprehensive and more detailed, so you need other ways of organizing it, and you also need ways of managing a project. Like, how do you ensure what happens if something, if somebody runs over, if this guy runs over his schedule, that's going to have an impact on everybody else. How do you handle that? So all of that is covered in the course as well, and that's a really key component. This is the skill to you being able to work at there. History. We've got so much. Maria, talk. Sorry. Who had more influence on interior design? Philippe Starck, I'm sure most of you know him. He's a very well-known international interior designer, and that's why I picked him, because he's probably one of the most famous. Or Charles Darwin. Now, this is debatable, and it's not, it's a rhetorical question, really. But the thing about it is, in many ways, it was probably Charles Darwin, because in all honesty, he influenced an entire style, which is Art Nouveau. And his book, The Origin of the Species, caused such a huge interest in biology and love of all things nature and organic at the time. And this is how the Art Nouveau style was born. So the thing I love about the history as well is, when we first started the course initially began, because it was academic, it tended to be a little bit more dry. I mean, they want you to do things. You have to show critical analysis. You have to show this, that, and the other. You know, and we've been able to tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. And I have to say, I just love the history section of this course because it's just fascinating. There's just so much there, but we've also made it come alive, and I think that's a really key thing. Plus, you know, we're talking about the interior design, going into interior design because it's a great profession and it's job satisfaction. The same thing with studying. You know, if you're looking at courses and making comparisons, even if you don't do one with us, make sure you do something that inspires you. You know, why would you want to spend, you know, if you can't get inspired at this stage of the game, you know, it's not worth it. So, you know, you really need something that's going to nurture your creativity and just really, really inspire you. I think that's a key thing. And again, we try to make everything, every single assignment, you know, we do so much work in the background. And we're continually, you know, upgrading, changing, and, you know, make things as valuable as possible so that you can use them in the industry. So we start with the very classical, you know, the ancient Greek and the ancient Rome, right up to today. But even with that, it's not a kind of like dry academic subject. And, you know, you're looking at the old thing, but you're also, how can you interpret that now? How can you interpret that in today? So, you know, learn from history, learn about the authentic things, but also how can you interpret it in today's interior environment? You know, so, you know, all the time adding to your portfolio. Everything's about adding to your portfolio. So again, and you're still using the skills, you know, at this point it's second nature for you to put together mood boards, presentations, and whatever. And again, you know, to draw an elevation, you know, you're continually repeating those skills. And as I said, you know, that quote from Aristotle, excellence is not an act but a habit. You know, so we're continually incorporating the skills that you've already mastered at this stage into the assignments, also to make them more interesting and to build your portfolio. So, you know, you will have one assignment where you will do this wall in 3 different styles. And I've got 2 examples here of Art Nouveau. This is one student's interpretation of Art Nouveau, and there's somebody else's. You know, and it's just nice that you really get to use everything and really build everything. And, you know, it's taken a lot of work to get that, but I think it pays off. And, you know, the results are in the work that comes out of it, because ultimately that's key. The thing about the history as well is, you know, there will be times you will work with period buildings, and you need to understand not just, you know, the essence of the style, but also where to get things, where to source things, what regulations apply. Some things are, you know, listed buildings where they will, you know, be preserved. They will have preservation orders on them. So you need to be able to know where can you source the materials, how can you make sure that you do it authentically. And then the other thing about the history as well is learning. It's, you know, I had that question up there about Charles Darwin and Philippe Starck, because learning what are the things that influence interior design, because understanding those will also help you to understand where things are going. I mean, at the moment, technology is changing our world in every single way. And, you know, why should interior design be any different? I mean, this is an example of a carpet in an airport, but it's digitally printed. You know, you can digitally print carpets now. There's a million and one things you can do. These central control systems, these were out. These started to come out. Ooh. Actually, the year my book was published, which was 2001. These were, because I know because I was working with a company at the time who did automated control systems. And they were hugely expensive, hugely expensive. And, you know, but ultimately, this is going to control the way we interact with our environments. And as an interior designer, you're going to be needing to have an understanding in how you can work with these things. The thing is now, not only have these systems come a long way, but also the way to control them. Now you can even do these things with apps on your phone, you know, and that's only going to change. So being able to see what are the things that influence, you know, you'd be amazed at some of the things that influence interior design, you know, some, you know, and, you know, that will enable you to keep your finger on the pulse, to spot trends ahead of time so that you can maybe even be a trendsetter and set a few stars of your own, you know. So this is all key, part and parcel of it. And we also go into commercial design. You have a choice now on this course. We used to have mainly commercial projects on this stage of the course. However, some people, and we just made a major change to the course last year, which was a lot of work. But one of the reasons we did that as well is that some people don't want to work in commercial, they want to work in residential, high-end residential. So we've given you options. You've got optional projects that you can choose as you go along. So it enables you to build your portfolio according to how you want to go along. But even if you never want to do commercial design, there's an awful lot to be gained from it, even just for yourself in terms of how you're able to present yourself to the world. So you'll learn about marketing, you'll learn about corporate identity, how that has to factor into your interior design, and then considerations when you're doing commercial design. Excuse me, I just have to cough again for a moment. Oh, excuse me. No, can you hear me again? Sorry. My flu is still going over. Okay. Yes. Okay. Apologize. Okay, so commercial interiors. Again, there's factors that you have to consider. A business can't afford to be shut down, because anytime that they're shut down, they're not making money, but they still have to pay all of the rent and all of the overheads that are associated with this business. So there's huge things that you have to consider when you're dealing with commercial design. And again, your ability to project manage is absolutely critical to be successful with those projects. That's a really key component of it. The other thing about it is this is where there's always an overlap as well. So understanding how to juggle all of those things, whether or not you ever go into commercial interiors, will feed over. But even understanding things like, if you have a restaurant and you're designing a restaurant, say for instance, and usually they'll have planning permission even when the place is just an empty shell, and they might apply for planning permission. They might have planning permission for 80 seats within a restaurant. Now, in order to fit them into this restaurant, it might look a bit like McDonald's, However, the owner wants to get as many seats in there as possible, because that is, contributing to the amount of patrons that they can have in and ultimately their turnover. But also they want to create the right environment to attract the type of clientele that they want to. So again, all of these factors, it's just, very logical, and it's a real process. And again, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh my goodness, where do I start? Don't worry, you get to that as well. It's just, I hope you can see, it's a jam-packed course. I've tried to go through it as quickly as possible while trying not to be too overwhelming. But really, so this is effectively, in as concisely as I can put, the structure of the HND. And it's at this stage that you'll have your final project to do. You'll have a choice of a commercial or a high-end residential interior. It will be, both of them will be like a major remodel job. And again, you'll have a really, really strong portfolio. So ultimately, you can go out and start working in the industry, and you'll be prepared to hit the ground running at that point. And salaries, I'll go very quickly for the UK and the US here. I have one or two people here from the UK as well, so even though it's late here. Experienced designers, it says kind of between 24 and 40 a year. Senior designers earning 45 or more, and these have all been taken from the internet. Now, depending on where you are in what stage or profession you are, that may seem high or it may seem low. What I would say to you is the interior design industry is very lucrative. You can earn a lot of money in the interior design industry. However, don't go into it because you want to earn money. I would say go into it because it's a passion. If it's something that you absolutely love and you really want to do, you will actually be really good at it if you apply yourself. And when you are a good designer, the sky is the limit, quite literally. To me, this would be you know, really a low salary. But in saying that, I didn't start off where I am now either. And, you know, but again, you know, as adult learners and adults, just being in the real world, this is the thing, you know, you can just even being in a job for a year, you know, and having to fend for yourself and pay your own apartment, you know, being in the real world really, you know, teaches you an awful lot, and all of that will cross over, and you know, you will be able to grow far more rapidly than you know, traditional college age students. So these are kind of geared towards them. So the USA, again, I obviously can't cover everything on here. Average salary here, this is just taken from this is the website address on here, between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. Here's one, the Bureau of Labor, stating that in some states average salaries are just under $63,000 a year. And again, it really is how long is a piece of string. You know, really good designers, it says here, extremely talented or very experienced interior designers can sometimes make up to $80,000 a year. Well, yes, but extremely talented and very experienced designers can also make an awful lot more. But as I said, it's not, don't go into it for the money. Go into it for, but at the same time, do know that the potential is there. And again, my reasoning, if you really are passionate about what you do, you won't be able to help being good. And that is the key to really, really high earnings. And, you know, it's out there for the count. And I'll tell you as well, and why I'm doing this as well. This is a reminder to me that, okay, we've got just under half an hour left, I can see. I want to make sure that I have some time for Q&A. We need to go through prices, how the course works. So, you know, I've been working as an interior designer for a long, long time now, and I really do divide my time. I have another business as well. So, you know, as an interior designer, my daily rate is £2,500 a day, and that's UK sterling. And if I'm charging a business, you know, that will have VAT on top of it. VAT will be applied, so tax is applied to that. And before, you know, I don't go into somebody and say, well, I'm going to charge you £2,500 a day. I will teach you pricing on the course. Pricing is a huge skill in itself. And it takes a long time to actually be able to do it effectively. But I will teach you, and I think this is where you're really going to benefit from this as well. You know, what I do is I have my hourly and my daily rate, and then I use that to price my job. So all of that is covered on the course. But, you know, but of course I didn't start that way. You know, so I would have a very good living for interior design, and I make extremely good money as an interior designer. So, you know, there's huge potential out there, is what I'm saying. So let's have a look at this course. And actually, I'll talk to you in a moment about why I'm actually doing this one as well. So first of all, how the course works. It's an online course. So with all of these courses, oh, this is not coming in the way I wanted. So you know what? Let's just bring them all up there. Okay. So benefits of e-learning, you never miss a class or lecture. I mean, I have to say, I love online learning. I've learned so much myself through online learning. Pretty, you know, and you know, you can work it around your schedule. We even have, you know, deferrals if somebody is sick. So this is, you know, kind of across the board with all of our courses, not just this one. Obviously, this is a schedule, so you'll have a schedule to go to. But again, even if you miss, you know, a webinar, you can still see the recording of it, you know. So the benefits of this and of our process as well. You have your learning assignments with us, plus your graded assignments. And ultimately, you know, these things as well, you know, a learning assignment plus a graded assignment, you don't care about that. Do you really care if you give a learning assignment or a graded assignment? Do you really care if you have, you know, if we cover, you know, French pleated headings, or how to, you know, insulate a wall, What you really care about is having the skills and knowledge to go out there and work in the industry. That is what this is about. And these are just the way that we will help you to do that. So again, these are listed here as kind of like points because they are important points, but they're only points insofar as these are the tools and these are the mechanisms and systems that we use to enable us to help you to become a great designer. That is ultimately the key. You get personal feedback on every assignment. So every single assignment you do, you get feedback. So, okay, this is where you go here. This is what you do here. We use a really, really very effective building block approach. And it applies to every single lesson, and it applies to the courses themselves. So you won't realize how much you're learning at the time. We've layered them very, very carefully. Some people come back afterwards and they say, oh my goodness, I just cannot believe how much I learned. It's only now. Because when you're in the thick of it, you get caught in it, And we've done that to make it look easy and as seamless as possible so that you can just get on with it and not think, oh, I've got so much to do, or, this is way too much, or, we've done it to make it as easy as possible for you, but also as effective as possible. And then also the way that the course is, as I said, that first course, stage 1 of the H&D, is a course within itself. At the end of stage 1, not only will you get a diploma, you'll have that portfolio. You can become a member of the Certified Interior Decorators at that point. They accept all of our students. They're very happy to accept our students. So again, you can start working in the industry there already. And, even though, as we've said, we know there's a difference between interior design and decoration, the two fields overlap, and it can still qualify as your interior design experience. So all of that's important. The other benefit with us as well is you don't need any previous qualifications or experience. And I think one of the biggest things that we've put in here, I don't know any other college either that actually guarantees what you will learn. And the reason why I say is I'm confident, that we can teach you. And I'm absolutely confident if you do this course with me that I can teach you. And as long as you are committed and you want to do it. And when I say that, if you are really committed to learning, if you want to learn, and you're willing to do what's needed, absolutely, definitely, we have the systems and mechanisms in play, and I know how to get you there. So I'm guaranteeing what you will actually learn. And the reason I can put that guarantee is because I know you'll do it. I know I'm never going to have to pay this back out. It's a full money back guarantee. It's on our website. It's all there. Full money back guarantee. If you don't learn what we promise, what we've described in the prospectus, by the time you complete the course, you can have a full money back guarantee and you get to keep the award. And I'm telling you straight up, the reason I put that in there is because I know that that's exactly what you will learn. And we'd be able to demonstrate that with all of the work that you've got as well. And that's ultimately the key. So, so these are all the benefits of any e-learning course that you will actually do with us at the moment. However, what is the benefit of this? Oh, look, this was supposed to be my little surprise at the end. Moi! Came up a little bit ahead of time. So the benefits of doing this course. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm just going to have to bring all of these all up because they're all coming all over the place. There we go. Okay, let's start at the top. First of all, it's a fast track program. You will be completed by December 2017. However, you may start working in the interior industry by the end of this year, and I think I've explained that. The courses at the moment, our courses are very effective at the moment, obviously, because if you look at all of that work that you've seen, that's all been from all our students. However, lessons and our materials, what I would like to do is start introducing a lot more video lessons. And, we have online resources. We have an online learning studio. And what you will do is have this, let me just go back to how the course works. When you enroll, we will send you a welcome pack, a list of materials that you'll need to get. There's nothing there that's too expensive. Just things like a drawing board. I mean, altogether they might come to about maybe an extra $200, £150, okay, US dollars. So we'll send you a list of all of those things. and you'll start. So on Thursday the 3rd, what we'll do is we'll have a webinar, and the webinar will run at this time every Thursday. So the first one will be an introductory, and I'll introduce you to the course, the way it's going. We'll start, we'll go through things. Then you'll have a lesson, and then you'll have an assignment. So you'll go through, you'll complete your assignment, and you'll submit it to me by Tuesday, by the following Tuesday. And from the weekend, I'll open up your next lesson. So what you'll do is go through your next lesson, and the main purpose of our webinars on Thursday are for Q&A, so that I can answer your questions online, show you visually, and also so that we can, I can give you some insider tips, give you additional knowledge that's not there. And my main reason for doing this, particularly when you think, I have to be very careful about how I spend my time. I have to be honest. I love interior design, and I love interior design education. I started the Design Academy because I really do love being involved and watching people grow. I've had to plan my own personal time over the last few years, and I don't get as much individual interaction with students as I used to, and I have to spend my time where it has the most impact, and that's basically at kind of like management and directing level, and I still get to see things, and I'm still involved in the development, and I'm totally involved with the course development, but I'm still involved with the seeing students things. I still grade major projects and things like that, but to be honest with you, I miss it. I enjoy it. And what I see now at the moment is, going forward, I would like us to be able to offer more of these scheduled courses. We've had a lot of requests over the last couple of years, and I think it's time for us to do it. And I think one of my reasons for doing this is also so that I can set the standard and document this as I go along. I'm going to use this opportunity to be able to do this myself, so that I can also document it for other tutors that will be able to do this in the future. And that's how I've done everything, all of our courses to date. Once something is done, then somebody else can take it and we'll do different things with it. But, I know how I want the online courses to be delivered. I know exactly, what needs to be done in each one. So this was going to give me the opportunity to do that. And then what I'm looking for as well is I'm also looking for some case studies, because everyone we have so far, they're just pure online. I'd like to have some people who've gone through this fast track program and could say, yes, okay, this was great, this was such and such, and and here's what we've achieved as well. So it's important, and that's the reason that I'm doing this as well. So and just one last thing as well is I've put up here first priority access to new online resources. I would like to, as we go along, start developing much more interactive videos and things like that as well. We have some things up there, but I'd like to do even more. So I'm also going to use this opportunity to make sure, because I have a deadline as well. I've got deadlines to meet to make sure that I have these things ready for you ahead of time. So I'll make sure that I have additional learning materials and online resources. So you'll have first priority access. Now, as these are developed, yes, we'll be putting up there for all students, so that all students will have access to them, but not to the same level that you will, and you'll have first priority access. The other great thing about doing something like this is the motivation and group dynamics. Now, there's a private Facebook page, and all of the students interact on there. However, it does make a difference because everyone is progressing at a different pace. So you might start, you might start at the same time as somebody else, but they could, go faster or slower than you. And it helps if you've got a group of people all proceeding at the same pace. It just really helps with motivation and the group dynamics. And to be honest with you, even if we never meet in person, if that never happens, it's effectively the same thing. We get to know each other, we get to know each other's personalities, and there is a whole group dynamic, that comes from any kind of live interaction. And I think that's really motivating and quite encouraging as well. Another thing that I really want you to benefit from as well is peer-to-peer review. And as I was talking earlier on, just a moment ago, saying, people progress at different rates. We don't get the opportunity to do this. If you're in a traditional college, you'll get the benefit of learning from other people. And even, you know, in the Q&A, asking questions, what happens is you'll realize as other people ask questions, first of all, other people are asking the same questions that you have in your head, you know, and that will help you to feel a little bit better. But also you'll start to realize people interpret things completely differently. And it makes you look at things in new eyes. And to be honest with you, you know, that's one of the reasons I love being involved in education, because I'm always, you're constantly, you know, seeing things with fresh eyes through the eyes of new people. You know, it's really inspiring, and it's really important for your development, I feel, as a interior designer, that you can actually benefit, that you can benefit from each other's work. And we'll have a very structured and safe environment for doing it. I'll teach you how to critique so that you do it in an objective and fair manner, but also accurately. And, you know, if something is, you know, not good, well, why is it, you know, what is right about it, and what could be improved, or what could be made better, or what could be, and how does this need to be, or how would this not, you know. So we will, you know, that's a really critical thing. And again, if you're going to be, you know, if you ever want to be employed at a senior level, it's really important even just being able to do those things, that you can objectively evaluate other people's work as well. So all of these things cross over. So the weekly webinar is where you have your Q&A answered. And again, that's where we'll do our peer-to-peer review. And, you know, hopefully that's where I think I'll bring you insider tips. The other thing is I'm going to be a personal tutor on this, which means that I'm going to be grading all your assignments. You know, if I want to bring you through this, I want to make sure that I know you as individuals, how you're progressing. So, you know, people always do tell me, I do get very good feedback from my students. Oh, Marie, you're motivating, and you know, but I do love it, and I just know that as well. I have so much experience, and there's only so much you can put into a lesson in terms of, you know, videos and everything. You know, there's always little things that come out. Just the fact that we have a Q&A, and then we'll have like online discussions, you know, that in turn will spark something off. And you know, I really know that you'll benefit from my experience, you know, and my aim is really to help you, to prepare you to be a successful interior designer. That's what I want. I don't want you to do a course. I want to prepare you to be a really successful interior designer. That's what I'm after, and I bring that to the party, and I think that's where my greatest asset is, that I can actually pass on to you. And also part of the course, as a natural part of the course, is developing your career plan. And we do it at 2 stages. We do it in the first stage. So we'll probably tackle that. We'll start that in around, say, September, October. So we'll start developing a career plan for you this year. So how you can start planning for your development by December, or ready to start the new year next year, if that's how you want to tackle it. And then later, before we get to the end of 2017, then we'll also develop a career plan. You know, this is a more long-term, more comprehensive plan at that point, and how to, you know, do that. And I know I can bring a lot there. The other thing about it as well, I've always been a bit of a rebel, to be honest with you. And people will say, "Oh, you can't do this." I love that when people say you can't do this, because I have one of my quotes, one of my sayings says, "The person who says something can't be done shouldn't interrupt the person doing it." So that's one of my quotes on my wall here. And I also have a little statue of a flying pig, and I collect flying pigs to remind me that yes, pigs can fly. And it might seem strange, and you might be thinking twice at all about doing a course with me now. But I have to say, you know, people will say you can't do that, you can't do that, and I really do believe you can do anything you want to. And actually, I'm proof of it. So you know, I will help you. And, you know, I do think that, you know, if you have responsibilities and you have commitments, and, you know, it can be hard sometimes to say, oh, can I really do this, you know? And really, that is my goal. That's why I'm involved in it. I am genuinely passionate about that, and that's what I want to do. So, oh, I'll put this again here at the end. I didn't mean to. I'll go on again, but you can see that I've just listed. Again, I suppose this is your main reason for doing it, ultimately, so that you will have a career and something that you love. And you can even see on here, look, earnings potential is significant, career prospects, everything there is really, really high. So the other thing about it as well, even if you only ever want to do this for yourself, I just thought, I know that some people think about this first of all, and they think, oh, I only want to learn for myself. If you, buy a sofa, just a suite of furniture, this is a UK one, £4,000. This is on sale in the US, $5,000. Suite of furniture, an average kitchen remodel will cost you anything from 20 to 30,000, and that's average. If you're talking about interior design, high end, it can be an awful lot more. An average bathroom remodel will cost anything, roughly between 10 and 20,000. Excuse me. So, even if you never practice this, which would be a shame, but even if you never did, you would earn back 10 times in what you would save yourself and your ability. Not only would you actually create your own dream home to die for ultimately, but you'd actually save a fortune on getting things right, knowing where to cut corners, knowing where to save, knowing where to start, not just avoiding expensive mistakes, but knowing how. There's so many things that you can do to achieve similar outcomes, and all of that is what you learn on the course. Okay, so that's key. So I want to talk to you now the key thing when it comes down to prices. Okay, this is not just a course. Here's my sales pitch, and again, I'm saying that, and I just want to say it because I don't like it to sound like a sales pitch. I mean this very truly. When you're comparing it with others, it really is. It's a coaching program. And as most of the people on this call tonight are from the US and Canada, I think I should also say that we get two questions asked commonly. One, why your course is so expensive, and two, why your course is so cheap. And the people here in the UK and in Ireland tend to think that our courses are expensive by comparison with other courses. And if you look for interior design courses online, just generally, you will find cheaper courses. However, as I've said to you, this is not a course. We're not about a course. It's a training program. That's what we do. The system and mechanism that we use is a course, but you can't compare ultimately you need to judge a course by what it produces. That's really the key. That's the litmus paper. So that's what I'm saying. And again, people in the States often say to us as well, oh, well, why is your course so cheap? Because the cost of education there is so much more. I was saying to you earlier on about being a rebel. I'm from very, very humble background myself, and I've surpassed it, and I have a great lifestyle. But I have to say, I'm very passionate about design, and one of the things that I really disliked when I first came into the interior design industry is the amount of pure snobbery that's in there. And it's actually getting an awful lot better now in the last few years, but there still is, that snobbery. And I mean, I was in a place there a while ago where they had these bespoke carpets, and I was ordering carpet, and the carpet was £450 square meter. Now that's expensive, okay? And at the end of the day, it was warranted, and it was right for the job, and it was appropriate for the job. But there was a designer there with her nose up in the air as if to say, oh, well, that's nothing. Well, I'm sorry, if you think that's nothing, you're living on another planet, and I don't mind. I've worked with budgets, at the low end, and I've worked with budgets. I've handled budgets of a couple of million, particularly for large commercial projects. But at the end of the day, the thing is to be able to recognize everything. I'm going to sidetrack here. My whole thing was the snobbery and everything else as well. I'm very passionate about education. My reason for being in this is I want to make it as widely available as possible. The courses are priced as low as they can be for a course of this nature. One of the things, and I've had this conversation just recently, I've sat down, it comes up every now and again. Sometimes I think that the low prices work against us, because I think that sometimes people think that we are, you know, oh, well, you know, if you're going to do a course in another college there and it's going to cost twice as much, you know, maybe this isn't as good. But first of all, education is cheaper here at this side of the world, which is something that you can benefit by doing an online course. And secondly, I deliberately keep them as low as possible. I don't need, you know, this is not my primary business. And, you know, this is really about, you know, training people and offering a good service. And yes, we do make profit. We're a business. We are still a business. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that is what enables us to constantly put back in and make it grow as well. So, you know, I'm very passionate about business as well. But again, this is not about, you know, making a huge income. This is about really, really creating a good training program, making it profitable enough that it can be sustained and that it can continue to grow. And I never cease to be amazed, surprised, and genuinely it warms my heart to see the amount of talent that is out there. And you know, I nearly didn't become an interior designer because I really struggled to get the college fees together. And you know, I just think there's huge talent out there, and it doesn't need to be. If it doesn't need to be high priced, why should it be? So that's why they are the prices they are. So what is it going to cost? So the HND self-paced. So if you do this as a self-paced course where you start and, you know, you pace yourself and you send in your assignments and then you get your feedback and everything else, you don't have the weekly classes. That costs £5,694. And at the moment, I'm using the exchange rates on this website here, xe.com. It's 8,250. Okay. But a few months ago, it was actually about $10,500. So exchange rates fluctuate. Now that's a full payment price if you pay in full, and that's for the self-paced course. So don't worry, I have something nice to offer you here. The scheduled course with me at the moment, when we are running scheduled courses, as I said, this is going to be a pilot, and I want to use this so that I can actually develop a training program and have other tutors start to run these going forward as well. I would be probably looking at I would say probably 7,995 in pounds sterling, or it would be roughly $11,695. That's what we're going to probably be charging for them. So yeah, and I'm planning that it will be in and around that. I don't want to be, again, greedy with any of these things. And let me also say, I also know this isn't small change, by the way. When I say that the courses are cheap, I'm talking about in terms of, you know, an accredited qualification, something that will, you know, really prepare you and give you the skills to work in the industry. However, at the end of the day, I know that, you know, most people don't have this sitting in their purse or their wallet, you know, so it's not small change, and please don't think I'm being flippant in that way. But what I am doing is, this is really exceptional, and I've tried to make it as much of a no-brainer as possible. It's a full payment price. And I'm only going to accept a full payment because I just want to make sure that, you know, that there's no issues afterwards with exchange rates and whatever. And for this course, we will also take it in dollars. So usually we'll deduct it in pounds, but we can actually process this payment in dollars. So it is going to be, if you're in the UK, it's £5,000 really. And if you're in the USA and Canada, it's priced in US dollars, and it's $7,239. Now, don't forget also, this is for a 2-year course. It's a HND, equivalent to associate degree, and that's for the full program entirely. There's no hidden costs. That's it. The covers absolutely everything. I'm going to put the address up here of where you can actually enroll. This is the, and I'll also actually I'll copy this and put it into the box here. And if you want to, I just did this for tonight as well. If you want to go on this page here, you do not have to pay right now. However, there are limited places. What I need to do is make sure that I know who is coming on the course. So what I would like you to do is, if you want to do this course, you'll have to pay you'll have to pay the fee in full by the 28th of February. So you'll have to pay it by the end of February, and we start on the 3rd of March. However, you only have to pay a £200 booking fee. So I cannot take the booking fee in. I cannot take the booking fee in. Sorry, I'm trying to copy this as I'm talking to you, and it's not working. I can't take the booking fee in dollars. If you go to this web address, I can only choose for it to be published in one currency. However, this is why that we haven't put the full thing up there. What we'll do is, if you want to go on the course, book it. That will hold your place. And then what we'll do is we'll contact you. I'll contact you, and we'll talk about, the remainder of it. I'll get you set up with the equipment list, things like that you need, and that will hold your place. So I would say to you, as I've said before, there's only going to be 20 places. So please do. And what I'm giving everyone for attending the webinar, and this is only for the people who attend the webinar, by the way, and if anyone is going to come along, I'm not sure if there is going to be a recording of this. If there is, we have the names of the people who are on the webinar. So for those of you who attended only, you will be able to get an additional discount of your booking fee of £50. And I know it's quite long. There's a lot to go through. And I want to thank you for giving me your time tonight as well. So if you put this code in here, that will be applied before you process your booking fee. And then what we'll do is we'll talk to you and discuss the other payments, and the remainder of the payment then will be processed in US dollars. So does anybody have any questions for me? I said we'd have a quick Q&A, and I really tried my best to stick to 2 hours, including Q&A, but it just always goes because there's so much to cover. I'm trying to find my screen here. Okay, just type in any questions that you have here. Okay, I see. Okay, good. Okay, right. Andy says, what happens if I fail? Good question. It's highly unlikely, to be honest with you. The only way that you can fail is really to stop. If you stop doing the work and stop completing the assignments, obviously you're not going to get an award. So that's the really only way that you can fail. Now, the other thing about it is when you actually do get your graded assignments, as I said, you've got these, assignments at the end of each lesson. When you're given it, you have these projects to do basically, and the projects would. And Joanna, your question is very quick to answer, so I'll just say yes to you. Because that was only a yes. I've got a few other questions. Okay, so what happens when you get these projects to do? Basically, if you don't reach the standard required, you'll get the chance to redo it. However, at that point, you've already gone through so many assignments with us, as in the learning assignments. You really know what's required, and the only reason that people will actually usually, if people do have to resubmit that work, the usual reason is because they've rushed it. They haven't allowed themselves enough time at the end, or they just tried to get it in fast. If you've done everything as you go along, it's very, very unlikely to happen. Okay, I have a couple of questions about time. That's very good. How long does it take to complete an assignment? How long is the course? I'll provide you a full schedule. If you do enroll, I'll contact you and I'll give you the full schedule, and I can actually send it to you tomorrow anyway. Everybody who's been on the webinar, I'll make sure that it gets sent to you. And as I said, it's every Thursday. There's time off for holidays. There's 20 actually no, there's 30 lessons this year. Okay, but that means there's time off for holidays, there's time off for Christmas, or you'll be finished before Christmas. And again, next year, we've got the full year because the second stage is that little bit more intensive as well. Each week, I would say that you will need, in addition to your evenings, I would say you need 2 evenings a week and 1 day at the weekend. That's probably the best thing. And what I would say to you, when I say day, I would allow a full day. This is the way I work. Now, again, you have to find what works for you. This is not to say that this is the perfect way, but this is basically how I do things like this, and this is how I managed this type of thing as well. If you did 2 evenings a week, because you'll have one with a Q&A, and you did 1 evening then, say, for your to go through your lesson and your course material and all the other stuff. Then you give yourself 1 day at the weekend to actually do the work, and give yourself a full day. And if you set aside, say, either the Saturday or the Sunday, and again, it depends what works in with your schedule. You might be able to do half day somewhere, half day somewhere else. But if you set aside 1 full day, that will allow you to really do everything that you need. And then you've got your day off. It is intensive, but so is anything worthwhile. And the other side of the coin is it's also enjoyable. But because it's a creative subject, sometimes you can get lost. It's like, if anyone has to go online and do research online for anything, it's, before you know it, you've been surfing the net for an hour and a half. So, this is a creative subject, and, keeping a focus like that and getting a structure and a schedule is also helpful to enable you to make sure that you still have a life as well, because ultimately, it's going to take a lot of time, and we still want you to have a life as well. You've still got family commitments, you've got a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, you may have kids, whatever. So to be able to do all of those things as well. So it is time, but you can do it, and it's discipline. And again, we'll give you some tips and advice on starting a schedule, and a lot of that will be what we will cover in the first one. What I'm also looking at is a thing like, it's kind of like a daily reminder to go out to you, and I do think having the group momentum will really, really help with that as well. Okay, there's a couple of questions there about additional fees. There are no additional fees. That is it. And yes, you can pay. This will be charged in dollars. So if I go back there to my price, I even have to bring it up because. Okay, so if I go back to my price there, it is £4,999, so that's £5,000 or $7,239. When you go onto that website address, if you actually that will only take a £200 booking fee, and as I said, that will be charged in pounds. However, if you are paying in US dollars, you can only pay in US dollars if you are outside of the Eurozone. If you are going to pay in US dollars, what we will do is talk to you, and we will take the balance of the payment in US dollars. So you don't have to worry about exchange rates. I've put these up here so that you can actually see, but we're going to take them in US dollars. And it means then as well that it's going to save you some money from converting as well. But that's also one of the reasons that we're offering it at full payment price. We just don't want to get caught on fluctuations and all of that. And as I said, this is a 2-year course. This is the full 2-year course. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, if I had got this, I can tell you my college course was way more than that. And I still think it was worth it. In fact, of course it was, for everything that I've done from it. But at the same time, I want this to. I don't want money to be the obstacle for you not doing it. I've made it as low as possible. If you're serious about being an interior designer, for me, honestly, if you're serious about it and you really want a career, you could even earn this, on your first job. So I've tried to make it as much of a no-brainer as possible. As I said, please don't think I'm being flippant. I know it's not small change, but at the same time, this is an industry. As I said, if you never ever do anything with it, if you just use it for yourself, you will get 10 times the value. out of it in terms of what you will be able to achieve with your own home. And I'm not just talking about it looking good, avoiding expensive mistakes. I'm talking in terms of being able to do things and what you will accomplish, and learning how to budget and save, and you know, where you can put your things. Your mind is going to be opened in ways that you just haven't imagined yet. And you know, and I know that might sound dramatic, but it's really, really true. It's going to get you thinking at things in a completely new way. And so many people just say to us, oh my God, it was life-changing. It was, and I have to be honest, I love it. I love to hear that. I really do. Because ultimately, you know, that's what drives me, and that's what keeps me going in it. And that's what really motivates me, is when I see those things coming in, but also when I see someone develop. And this is also the reason that the other reason that I'm doing this. And I put down there on benefits, actually. If I go back, I'm going to forget now. Look, I have to go back to every screen. Ah, there we go. At the bottom of this one, I put down here, oh, one-off opportunity. I am unlikely to do it again myself, and it's a reality. I'm not going to be likely to do this again. As I said, I haven't been involved in that individual interaction with students directly, and I really do enjoy it. And you know, and I know I will help you to get good results. I always do. But to be honest with you, yes, it's going to be tiring for me. Yes, it's going to, you know, I'm going to be in demand. I'll have my own demanding schedule as much as you'll have yours. So in all honesty, I'm unlikely to do it again myself. There are reasons, you know. Part of it will be that I will enjoy it, but the main primary reason is so that I can, you know, get this set up and, you know, and document it so that this is something that we can offer again in the future. And to be honest with you, I just know, I know that, you know, I will be able to work with you and bring you on and pull you there as well. So most of the questions are already saying, yeah, answered. So most of the questions there were about the prices there, sterling. Sorry, I'm just looking over these here. Any more questions? Okay. Sorry, a couple more here. Questions about projects, how you upload your project. Everything is done online, and we will explain everything to you. Don't worry, we'll take you step by step. You know, so the only thing I would say to you, as far as the logistics of the course, how do you get this? How do you get that? Don't worry about any of that now. The thing that you need to do right now is just think about this. Is it something you want to do? And all I would say to you is, if you have been thinking for a long time about becoming an interior designer, if it's something that's always been on your mind, you know, when did it first come into your mind? And you know, it's just my opinion, my personal opinion, and I really do believe life is too short. Life is too short to be in something that you don't enjoy. And again, it's quality of life, it's everything. So you know, if you don't do it now, when will you do it? You know, and you know, and if it's something that you really want, and you know, if it's something that you really want, and you just think, oh my goodness, can I? Yes, you can. If you want it, I would say to you, if you want it, and if you're prepared to commit to it, we will get you there, and I will get you there. I really hope that you will do the scheduled course with me, even more so. I mean, you may even be considering just doing the normal self-paced course, but I would love, I'm looking forward to getting, I want everybody on my course, just because I really, really want to work with people again. And I just think, you know, I just love seeing people come through. So I hope that has helped you all. Hope it has given you insight. I apologize for going over. I tried my best. But as you can tell, there was a lot of information there. And what I will do is follow this up tomorrow. I'll make sure that someone in admin sends you all an email with the schedule and other details. I'm going to close my window here. In fact, I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to put right here. This is what I wanted to do. I'm actually going to push the web address in the window there. Okay, so that is the actual enrollment page. So and as you'll be able to see when you go on there, it is only for booking deposit, and it only relates to this course. Just a thing about the guarantee as well. The guarantee, there's normally a 14-day money-back guarantee on all of the self-paced courses. It doesn't apply to this because it's a scheduled course and because there's limited places. So the booking fee is non-refundable. It's because we need to measure quickly, what people are going to do it. And we do understand that, you need time to juggle your finances. So the booking fee is, enough that, you'll make sure that you're going to book it if you want to do it. That is part of your course fee, by the way. You'll pay the balance, but it means that we know, okay, these people are seriously going to do it, and that that we're not turning away other people then, and then you don't take the space as well. So your 14-day money back guarantee does not apply to those. Only applies to the self-paced. However, the main guarantee that if you don't learn what we say, you'll get your reward and you'll get a full refund. That applies to everything. And the reason is because I know you'll learn and I won't have to give it to you. So, okay, so that's it. It is just after 2 a.m. here in the UK. So I am going to call it a day now. Thank you so much for sticking with me. There's so many of you stuck with this. I really, really appreciate you. And I really hope that this was really good and helpful information. And have a good remainder of the evening. And thanks again.